sesiyaqala ke siyaxoxa sizibheke nezinto abasinikeze zona ukuthi sikwazi ukuzibheka uma ngabe sibhekelela lezi ichibiyelo zomnyango.
Once we've heard all the views that are made by our people, we'll then sit down as a committee and deliberate so that we can formulate a position on the amendments that are proposed by the department.
Ngizozama ukuthi ngikhe phezulu lokho engicabangayo ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi iningi lethu la endlini sikwazi okuqukethwe khona la kulezi ichibiyelo zomnyango.
I will try and highlight some of the issues that I feel we will need to be aware of in this meeting, which are part and parcel of these proposed amendments.
Kodwa ke ngeke ngiyiwasho ngizisho zonke lezi ichibiyelo eziphakanyiswa ngumnyango.
But I will not go through all of the amendments that are proposed by the department.
Kodwa ke ngokubona komnyango uthi bathi kulezi ichibiyelo zabo umthetho ka2001 bungachazi ngokwanele ukuthi uma umuntu engayilandelanga imigomo kanye engawulandelanga umthetho yiziphi ijeziso okufanele azithole.
The department felt that the act did not express enough on what the punitive measures should be should someone be found to have transgressed some of the laws that are prescribed.
Okwesibili na njengoba sesibona ukuthi ngumthetho ka2001 uma sekukhona ke manje ukuthuthuka kobuchwepheshe uyabonakala ukuthi kunezinto eziningi lomthetho ekungenzeka ukuthi ayikwazi ukuthi ifinyelele kuzona.
And given that the act is from 2001, we are aware that there's been significant developments in the technology sector, and this law does not really accommodate that.
Bathi ke kwezinye zezichibiyelo abazishoyo kuyo baphakamisa ukuthi okokuqala umuntu ongakwazanga ukuthi alandele umthetho otholakale enecala lokuthi akawulandelanga umthetho kufanele lo muntu akhokhiswe imali elingana no2 million ngosuku okuncane.
One of the amendments suggests that for anyone who is found to have transgressed any of the laws, they be liable to a fine of a minimum of 2 million rands a day.
Okwesibili bathi lowo onikezwe ilicense uma ngabe etholakale necala longawulandeli umthetho kungenzeka ukuthi ilicense yakhe imiswe okwesikhashana okanye aphucwe yona.
Also, if a licensed person is found to have transgressed, they can also have their license revoked or suspended for a period.
Baphinde baphakamise ukuthi bafuna ukuthi benze isiqiniseko sokuthi uvikela abasebenzi ngokwezokuphepha nokwezempilo lento esibiza phecelezi ukuthi yi-health and safety labasebenza khona.
It also touches on issues of health and safety for workers who are working in the sector.
Futhi bafuna ukuthi benze isiqiniseko sokuthi imphakathi nezemvelo nayo ivukelekile.
And also to ensure that nature and communities are also protected.
Na njengoba besengishilo baphinda bathi ke ngokusiphakamiso zabo benzela ukuthi laba abangenayo kulemboni bakwazi ukuthi bathuthukiswe nokuthi amabhizinisi abo nawo agcine engamabhizinisi adlondlobalayo.
And as I've said before, it also looks to support those who are new players in this industry to support them so that their businesses are sustainable.
Esinye seyiphakamiso ukuthi la kukhona isivumelwano kube khona isivumelwano ngokweze umhlaba lento kumhlaba laba bana license ekuba kuyona eyothi ibhekelele ukuthi seyiyona ngempela emva kweminyaka ewu25.
And also to look at agreements that have been entered into to make sure that those agreements are still being abided by in a 25-year period.
Kukhona ke nokuthi phinde kubhekeleleke ukuthi kusezimeni ezinjani okanye ukunikeza amandla umnyango ungqongqoshe nalabo esibabiza phecelezi ukuthi i-regulator ukuthi babhekelele ukuthi kusezimeni ezinjani la bangakwazi ukuthi banikezwe ushwele bangahambisani ngokugcwele nomthetho lo ubekiweyo.
It is also to empower the department, the minister, as well as the regulator on when they should be able to give considerations where people have transgressed as well.
Iphinde ke baphinde baphakamise ukuthi kungabanjani ubudlelwane phakathi kweinkampani ezizimele neinkampani zikahulumeni.
And also to look at the relationship between private and government entities in the sector.
Iphinde ibhekelele ukuthi abantu abampishola abantu angathatha indawo abantu abamnyama isikhathi esiningi lento esibiza phecelezi ukuthi triple BE bonke laba babenqishwa amathuba ngesikhathi esidlule ingabe benziwa balekelelwa kanjani ukuthi nabo bakwazi ukuthi babe ingxenye yalemboni.
And also to assist those who were previously marginalized through the triple BE scheme to also allow them to participate in this industry.
Zikhona ke nezinye eziningi ezikhona eziqukethe eziphethwe ezilapho kulezi ichibiyelo.
There are also other amendments that are proposed in this particular bill.
Silana ke njoba bese ngishilo ukuthi sizolalela nathi ukuthi nina ke kulezi ziphakamiso ezishiwo ngumnyango nithini.
We are therefore here to listen to what you have to say with regards to these proposed amendments from the department.
Isikhathi esiningi abantu abaningi baye badideka ukuthi uma kukhulunywa ngeParliament bayitshena ukuthi uParliament nohulumeni nathi ngokunjalo sike sibuye sidideke sithi uhulumeni lana sizengo asiwona umnyango thina wezimbiwa phansi namandla silikomiti lesishaya mthetho kazwelonke.
Usually people would confuse parliament and government, and sometimes some of us will make that mistake. But as we are here, we are a committee of the national legislature.
So angeke sikwazi ke bathi abantu baye bathi sithi mangichaza ngithi asikwazi ukuphendula. Ngeke sikwazi ukuphendula imibuzo kwizinto esingekazixoxi nathi. Umnyango nguwona ophakamisa lokho. Sathi ngaphambi ukuthi sixoxe thina sathi asiqale eqala sizozwa izimvo zabantu ukuthi zithini sesiyothi ke uma sesiqedile wonke zonke lezi izifundazwe esizozihamba nesizihambile sibuyeke nathi sixoxe sithi hayi thina ngokubona kwethu nako esicabanga ukuthi kufanele kwenzeke.
So as such, we cannot answer questions on something that we have not deliberated on as a committee. However, once we've conducted our visits to all the different provinces, we'll then come back and deliberate as a committee and then formulate an opinion.
So sizocela ke abantu bangenqeni ukusho imbono yabo.
We'll therefore request that people are not afraid to voice their opinions.
Sikulindele ukuthi usho ukuthi cha mina angihambisani naloko kushiwoyo lana.
We expect you to be bold enough to say no, I don't agree with what is being proposed.
So unelungelo lokuvumelana nalezi ichibiyelo.
So you have a right to agree with the amendments.
Futhi unelungelo lokuziphikisa.
And you also have a right not to agree with them.
Kodwa singathanda ukuthi uvumelana nazo usho ukuthi yini eyenza ukuthi uvumelane nazo.
But we would like you to give us reasons why you agree with them if you do agree with the amendments.
Futhi uma kukhona okunye okubonayo ukuthi kufanele ukuthi kokongezwe kufakelelwe kulezi ichibiyelo ukusho.
And also if you feel that there are other additions that need to be part of these amendments, and we would request you to please give us those as well.
Nangokunjalo uma ngabe uthi cha siyakhahlela lezi ichibiyelo ezishiwo lana usinikeze na ukuthi yini okwenza lokho ukuthi uthi niyakukhahlela lokho.
And also if you disagree with the amendments, also give us reasons why you disagree as well.
Okunye ke ngizokucela ngoba kwezinye indawo besiye kuzona njengoba besilapha eNorth Coast izolo.
Also what I would request as, which I observed as we were in the North Coast yesterday,
Siyacela ukuthi siqonde udabeni sibambe isikhathi.
I request that we get straight to the point and keep time.
Ngoba esikubonile abanye abantu bakhuluma umuntu ayiphinda into ayishoyo seyishilo noba ayiphinda kuze kube kahlanu kodwa kube isihlanu kodwa sibe isekuzwakela into ayishoyo.
We noticed yesterday that people spoke on the same matter and repeated it almost 5 times when they've been heard what they were actually trying to say.
Athi meseqedile yena aphuma ahambe.
And once they are finished, they will get up and leave the room.
Lokho akukona ukuthi kuphathisa thina kanzima kodwa kudala inkinga nakulaba abafuna ukukhuluma emva kwakho.
Not that this gives us a problem, but it actually creates a problem for those who are still going to speak after you.
So sizocela ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sibambisane ukuhloniphana kwethu ukuthi uma mina ngikhuluma fanele ngazi ukuthi ukhona uzakwethu ofunayo naye ungena emva kwami.
So I request that we respect each other and remember that there are those who are also still coming behind me to speak as well.
So sizocela ukuthi sibambisane ngalo kulo lonke lo hlelo la namhlanje.
So I request that we all cooperate on today's program.
Sihloniphe imbono yabanye abantu uma ngabe ihlukile kule ngedlela thina esicabanga ngayo.
And respect other people's opinions even if they differ with the ones that we hold.
So cela ukuthi mhlambe ke uma kukhona abazophakamisa izandla lezi itulo ezibekwe laphansi zibheke phezulu.
Those who would want to speak, as you can see, there are chairs that are placed upside down at the center, at the aisle.
Sizosebenzisa zona ukuthi uma ngabe igama uphakamisa isandla wabonakala ukuthi isandla sakho sesokuqala kusho ukuthi lesi situlo ke kuyobe sesisesakho wena ozobe uphakamisile okwakhonjwa kuqala.
So if you raise your hand to speak and you have been identified and given a number, then you'll be seated according to the sequence or which you have been identified as you raise your hands.
So kwenza konke kokusemandleni ukuthi wonke umuntu ofunayo ukukhuluma akwazi ukuthi alithole lelo thuba.
We'll try our level best to allow for everyone who wishes to speak to get an opportunity to state their opinions.
Uma sibambe lesi sikhathi esishoyo kwatholakala ukuthi senaso esinye isikhathi somnikeza umuntu aphinda abuye okwesibili.
If we keep to the time that is allocated and we see that we still have time at the end, we'll still give people a chance to come back and raise their issues.
Okugcina sizocela ukuthi silandele yonke imigomo ekhona ngenxa yalesi sifo seCovid.
I also lastly would like to urge us to keep to the COVID-19 protocols as well.
Ngicabanga ukuthi yiloko ke uma sesizoqala ukubalekile ukuthi sichaze.
I think those were the important issues that I needed to explain before we commence.
Okugcina mhlambe ngoba ngiyazi lento ibuye ivuke ezindaweni. Lento esiyenzayo bakithi ayihlangene nokhetho obelukho. Kwenye indawo sibuziwe ukuthi kwaphela ukhetho manje seniyafika. Kudala lo mthetho usubuya nakwindlu yamakhosi.
Also, lastly, I need to also highlight that this has nothing to do with elections, because in one of the areas we went to, we were asked why are we coming immediately after elections. But this law is an old matter. It has even served in the House of Traditional Leadership.
Nokuthi ke inkinga esibe nayo endaweni eziningi ukuthi omasipala ngenxa siyakubona lokho kodwa ke sibe nenkinga yokuthola indawo amaholo la besingakwazi ukuthi siqhubhe khona uhlelo olufana nalolu.
And also we had a challenge of finding suitable venues to hold this program.
So ke lokho ke akube kungaphezulu kwamandla ethu akusikuzamile konke kusemandleni kuthina.
That was beyond our control, but we tried our level best on our part.
Kodwa ke ngithe kwenye indawo mangikhuluma ngathi kusizile kona ukuthi kube khona ama elections ngoba asenayo le yankinga ukuthi kufanele siyodlula ekanseleni masidlula ekanseleni siyodlula kumeya abanye umeya namanje abakayitholi nekhiyeze zeoffice ngeke sikwazi iyo lento singakwazanga ukuthi sithi hayi umeya makazosivulela okanye azosamukela.
In one of the places I said it was a blessing in disguise that the officials have not been elected yet, because then we don't have to go and announce ourselves to them and the councillors as well. So we just now are going to go straight and interact with the people.
Ngicela ke siqonde dabeni sikhona ke isandla sokuqala esifuna ukuphawula kulezi ichibiyene.
Is there a hand that would like to make a submission on these amendments?
There is a ukhona ubaba lapha yana
There's a gentleman at the back.
bengumama.
There's a lady here at the front.
Number 2,
Number
cela uyigcina inamba yakho nje.
Please
Inamba
keep the
yakho
number.
ngihambisana nesituli ozobe usibona ukuthi ukunamba bani. Khona number 3.
The chair that you are seated on is actually according to the number that you are allocated. There's number 3.
Yawu siyeke mntombi uma ngabe nje usifice silele siyeke silale kusho ukuthi lesesimile ngesakho. Ukhona omunye?
Is there another hand?
Ukhona omunye?
Any other hand?
Ukhona omunye?
Any-
Number 4.
There's number 4.
Okay. Ngiyazi ukuthi sakhona basazama ukulokoza uwomapha.
I know some of you are still trying to warm up.
Bazothi masebezwile base beyaqala ke.
Maybe after they've heard what is being said, they'll then
Okay.
begin to.
Siyacela bakwethu. Siyacela hayi kabi. Ngoba yabona nje uma sekuzoze kugcwale nala. Ngebhadi kunenani ekufanele libe khona la ngaphakathi.
We request that we also keep to the numbers that are allocated for this venue.
Uma bekhona ke sekugcwele laphansi sizoya phezulu.
Once the bottom part of the hall is full, we'll then find seating at the top.
Sicela kuma ikhona indlela uma sesibaningi kanjena ke sizame nje ukuthatha imizuzu emihlanu uma ungaqedile saqeda ngabanye sizophinde sikubuyise futhi okwesibili uma ufuna ukubuya. Sizame nje ukuthi sibambe imizuzu emihlanu siqonde udabeni ukwenza ukuthi sizokwazi ukuthi sivulele nabanye emva kwethu.
May I request that then we keep to the allocated 5 minutes, and if by the end there's still an opportunity and time, we will then call you back to finish your presentation.
Waza mntu omkhulu.
Please come forward, sir.
Iphezulu kakhulu. Yini? Ngafika amadoda esehlophe. Sanibona.
Good morning.
Igama lami nguSimphiwe ngakhumala isibongo.
My name is Simpiwe Kumalo.
Ngiqhamuka kwinhlangano yabahlali kuthiwa iSanco kodwa ke sewaba khona iSanco Youth.
I'm from an organization called Sanco, even though there's now Sanco Youth.
I'm a Richard Treasurer.
I'm a regional treasurer.
Eyokuqala kule bhili ile ekhuluma ngeBEE.
The first item on the bill that speaks to BEE,
Sinenkinga nje ekutholeni ama license ye gas.
we have a serious problem when it comes to obtaining licenses for gas
Njengabantu abampisholo.
as black people.
Inkinga eba khona ukuthi uyayifaka application
The problem is that you actually submit the application
ungaphendulwa.
and don't get a response.
I-constitution ithi ifana kube 60 days
The constitution says it should be 60 days,
but awuphendulwa.
but you don't get a response.
Uze nalowo amasente adu nawo okurenta leyo ndawo ozoyisebenzisa iziphela.
until you run out of funds that you were using to rent the space that you were going to use for the business.
Esibili ile ethi if ngingakwazi ukumeet ama requirement engwanikezwe by constitution.
Okwesibili, sorry, the second part is if I cannot meet the requirements as per the constitution,
U2 million.
2 million.
Company encane engakwazi even ukwenza lo 2 million ngonyaka iyothathaphi.
A small company that does not even have a turnover of 2 million per annum, where are they going to get that money?
Ezinye zezinto engikwazi ukuphikisana nazo ngokuthi ama company asakhula ngeke awameet onke lama requirement ngoba enjengawo benje.
Therefore, my disagreement is on this issue because developing companies, small companies, will not be able to meet these kinds of things.
Mase kuya kule yabasebenzi
And coming to the one that talks to workers,
ukuthi basafe kangakanani.
concerning their safety.
Sinenkinga ukuthi even yale industry ethutha igas yama truck
We have a problem that even the industry that is concerned with the transporting of the gas, in other words, the trucks that transport the gas,
iphethwa uhlanga laseNdiya.
it's predominantly Indian in terms of its makeup.
Abantu bakithi bahamba ama hours angaphezulu kwezikhathi efanele bayihamba.
Our people drive for hours that are longer than the prescribed hours in their work, in their jobs.
Kugcina ama truck egingqika esha ebulala abantu.
And this results in trucks capsizing and fires starting and people getting burnt.
And the two indawo ekwakhele kuzona imbewu imboni lezi zegas.
And another thing is the areas where these industries are,
Zinenkinga ukuthi ngoba zingawagcina ama recreation esezwanikeziwe.
because the companies do not keep to the regulations.
Thina njengesizwe esimpisholo sivile sakhe nje ama shelter ethu eduze kwalapho sothi igas iyaqhubuka iqhuma ngaphansi ishise ingane zakithi.
As a result, people will build next to these particular companies and the gas then can leak and it creates serious disasters for our people.
Kugcina kulimala abantu kakhulu.
And then you have serious injuries sustained by people.
Kodwa enye le kuma company aseneminyaka engaphezulu mhlambe kwe5 kuyaphezulu.
And companies who have been in existence for 5 years and more,
Ngingavumelana ukuthi u2 million ube khona per day.
then I think the 2 million is sufficient for those kinds of companies.
Masuthi ke le
And then on the issue of,
le angazi le finalization ukuthi kusayine uminister noma authorization of commission.
the one that talks to the minister having powers or authority,
Ukuthi senza njani uma kufanele ukuthi ngingayitholi impendulo ngiyakubani emva kwalokho.
because now I will need to know where do I get answers if I don't get any responses.
Ila ama submission ami.
Those are my submissions. Thank you.
Ube isibonelo esihle Mtungu.
You were a good example, Mtungwa.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairperson Luzipo and Portfolio Committee members, and we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to comment on this amendment.
Sawubona sihlalo Luzipho, ngiyabonga kakhulu ngethuba lokuthi sikwazi ukwenza isethulo sethu kulo mhlangano.
My name is Janet Solomon, and I'm here to represent Oceans Not Oil, a coalition of 33 affiliated organizations. If you need the list of them, I can offer it afterwards.
Igama lami ngiuJanet Solomon, ngilapha ngimele inhlangano ebizwa ngeOceans Not Oil, ehlanganisela inhlangano ezingu 33. Uma nidinga mhlambe ke amagama azo nginganikeza wona.
Please allow me to raise the most pressing points of our written submission as matters for your consideration.
Ngicela ninginikeze ithuba ukuthi ngiphakamise nakho okubalekile sikubona kufanele nikubheke.
As the chairperson mentioned earlier, the world has become a significantly different place since first tabling this bill 20 years ago, and any energy ideas and decisions are necessarily under urgent review.
Njengoba usihlalo beseshilo ukuthi umhlaba sewuguquke kakhulu njengoba kusukela kwaqala khona ukuba kusebenza kwalomthetho, ngakho ke kunesidingo sokuthi kube khona ukubuyekezwa okwenziwayo kwalomthetho.
This leads me to my first question.
Lokhu ke kungiholela embuzweni wami wokuqala,
What provision is being applied for fast-tracking gas development?
ukuthi ngabe ke ukuthuthukiswa kwegesi kuhlinzekelwe kanjani.
This is the assumption that this bill can provide environmentally sustainable development needs to be supported by evidence.
Ukuthi ke lo mthetho ungakwazi ukuthi usebenze ngendlela evikela imvelo nokuyithuthukisayo kufanele ukuthi kusekelwe ke ubufakazi.
The perception of gas climate compatibility was derived from the fact that gas burns cleaner than coal, generating roughly half the carbon emissions.
Umqondo wokuthi ke igesi yahambelana nezemvelo kwathathelwa kuleli iqiniso lokuthi igesi isha kangcono kunelahle. Lokho kwenza ukuthi ke kube khona ingxenye yecarbon ekhona emkhathini.
Recent peer-reviewed scientific studies from the Natural Resources Defence Council of December 2020 find that the climate benefits of liquefied natural gas compared to coal is only modest at best, since the enormous volumes of methane leakage inherent in producing the gas and along the supply chain at drilling sites, compressor stations, pipelines, and liquefaction facilities, and the energy required to liquefy the gas, transport it, and regasify it upon arrival ultimately presents a significant threat to the climate.
Ngokwecwaningo obeseke lenziwa i-Natural Resources Defence Council kuyavela ukuthi ke noma ngabe kuthiwa kukhona ukucabangela ukuthi igesi ingcono kunelahle, kodwa ke akukhulu kangako lokho. Kuyavela ukuthi kuningi okwenzekalayo okufana nje ukuthi uma ngabe kumbiwa noma ey'teshini lapho ke igesi igcinwa khona noma le ndlela ekuthuthwa ngayo le gesi kuyakhombisa ukuthi kuba khona iy'nkinga eziba khona lapho igesi iba nomthelela ekulimazekeni kwemvelo.
The unabated use of fossil gas is incompatible with achieving climate neutrality objective by 2050. Its use will have to be reduced by over 70% of current use in 2021.
Ukusetshenziswa ke kwegesi nje kungaqashiwe kubana ngeke kuqhathaniswe ke nokuthi kugcine kunesimo esizinzile lokuhlosiwe ngonyaka ka2050 kanti futhi ukusetshenziswa kwawo ngeke kuze kwazi ukuthi kwenzeke ukuthi kuncishiswe ngo70% njengoba kusetshenziswa njengamanje ku2021.
This all begs the question of the employment outlook, a just transition, economics, and plain logic in the South African context. South Africa has already warmed at around twice the rate of global warming.
Lokho ke kuchaza ukuthi kufuneka sibheke mayelana nezindaba zokuqashwa, uguquko, ezomnotho kanye nokucabanga nje ngokwesimo saseNingizimu Afrika. INingizimu Afrika ke yona isishise ngezinga eliphindaphindwe kabili kunelomhlaba wonke.
The national gas pipeline will be flared every 187 kilometers, and studies show that leaks to pipelines are par for the course, affecting communities and global warming, since what escapes is methane, which traps 84 times more heat per mass unit than CO2 over a 20-year period.
Ipipe ke legesi likazwelonke kufanele ukuthi lenziwe lokho kuthiwa i-flaring kuma kilometer anga-187. Ngakho ke izifundo noma ucwaningo oselwenzile liveza ukuthi ke lama pipe ayeba nesikhathi kuba nesikhathi la ebakhona nokuvuza kwegesi. Lokho ke kuye kuthinte ke imphakathi futhi kube nomthelela ke ekushiseni komhlaba ngoba lokho okuvuzayo ke kube i-methane yona ke ebamba ukushisa amazinga ngamahlandla awu84 ngaphezulu kokujwayelekile uma kubhekwa ke i-unit noma lokho abathi iqhuzu le CO2 ngesikhathi esiminyaka engama-20 noma ama-20.
In May 2021, the International Energy Agency published a high-profile report that detailed the pathway to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And in the report, the agency concluded that expanding fossil fuel exploration and use must end.
Ngo-May 2021, i-International Energy Agency ke yashicilela umbiko ochaza mayelana nokufanele kulandelwe ukuze kugcinwe kunesimo lapho kungasenako ukudedelwa kwecarbon emkhathini ngonyaka ka2050. Kulombiko ke yona le agency yaphothula ngokuthi kufanele ukuthi kubhekwe ukunaba noma ukusabalala kokubhekwa ukusetshenziswa noma kuvinjwe ukunaba ukusetshenziswa kwama-fossil fuel noma ke igas.
Given that this act has the potential to cause severe and irreversible harm to the public and or the environment, and given the studies that we've cited in our written application, many more than I've cited here, the operation and transmission of gas cannot be deemed sustainable, and we suggest the removal of the word sustainable from the act completely.
Ngakho ke njengoba sibheka nje ukuthi lo mthetho ungaba nesimo noma ungakha isimo sokuthi kwakheke umonakalo ongaphindwe ukwazi ukulungiseka emphakathini noma kwimvelo, nanokuthi ke sibheka ucwaningo selenziwe ngalokho besibona thina umbono wethu ukuthi kususwe igama elithi sustainable emthethweni, kodwa ke sicela ukuthi lokhu kwenzeke ngokuhambisana nalo lolu hlelo lolu.
The memorandum of the objects of the Gas Amendment Bill states that the bill will not have any organizational or personnel implications for the department and does not create further financial liabilities to the state. This claim needs to be substantiated considering that the newly developed National Petroleum Company merged from iGas, Petro SA and the Strategic Fuel Fund into one entity will play a central role in the proposed gas master plan and this bill. Yet none of these SOEs find themselves in a gross profit generating situation.
Memorandum of Objects of the Gas Amendment Bill iti umthetho ngeke uzukwazi ukuthi ube nomthelela eminyangweni ozokwenza ukuthi kube khona bophezeleka ngokwezimali kuhulumeni. Lokhu ke kufanele ukuthi kuqinisekiswe ngokuthi kubhekwe ukwakhiwa okusha noma ukwakhiwa kwenkampani ebizwa nge-National Petroleum Company ehlangane yaba yi-iGas ehlanganiswe i-iGas, Petro SA ne-Strategic Fuel Fund kwaba inkampani eyodwa izoba neqhaza elikhulu kule gas master plan. Kodwa ke le bill noma nakule bill kodwa ke lezi zinkampani zizithola zisemsimweni esingesihle uma kubhekwa ukwakhiwa kwenzuzo.
This begs the question then of where incentives for closure and transition from gas to renewables will be derived, and what is the logic of development of gas as a transition energy if it is bound to be locked in past 2070.
Lokhu ke kusenza sibuza umbuzo ukuthi ngabe iziphi izinto ezokwenza ukuthi abantu basuke ke ku gas baye kuma renewables noma lokho kusetshenziswa kabusha, nanokuthi ke imuphi umqondo lawo ukuthi kuthuthukiswe igas njengesiphehli samandla esizosetshenziswa kuya phambili, nanokuthi ingabe kungabe kuvalelekile kuyoze kube yinini noma mhlawumbe kungaze kugcine kufike unyaka we-2017.
The sector is unattractive for new investments as the cost of financing by financial institutions will be high, given the country's junk status. As such, no new major projects will take off in the short to medium term. Nedbank will no longer finance new gas exploration projects.
Lo mkhakha ke awuhehi kulabo abatshala izimali, ngakho indleko zokuzama ukuthola uxhaso lwezimali zizoba phezulu kakhulu. Kanti ke futhi lokhu kubangelwa ukuthi izwe lesimo lesabasibiza ngejunk ngokwezimboni noma ngokuzokutshalwa kwezimali. Ngakho abekho abantu akukho umsebenzi emisha ezoqhamuka okwesikhashana njengoba nesikhathi samanje. Kanti futhi no Nedbank nawo awusanikeza izimali zokuqala imisebenzi yegas emisha.
The public will bear the brunt of the decarbonisation challenges the rollout of the gas master plan faces.
Ngakho ke zonke inselelo zaloku zizogcina zihlela emphakathini.
Gas projects are 30-year plus projects. Customers are unwilling to commit to contracts longer than 10 years, and a retreat of bankers from financing new fossil fuel projects has begun.
Imisebenzi yegas kuba imisebenzi yayithatha iminyaka engamashumi kuya phezulu, kanti nabathengi abafuna ukuzibophezela einkontrakini ezingaphansi kweminyaka eyishumi. Lokho kuchaza ukuthi ke abasebenza ngokwezimali bayaqala bayabaleka kulomkhakha.
New LNG and gas projects have considerable risks of being stranded prior to the operating life being complete.
So, ngakho-ke imisebenzi ye-LNG negesi isebungcupheni obukhulu ngaphambi kokuthi kuze kuqale nokuthi isebenze ngendlela efanele.
Substitution of fossil gas for coal has not been addressed by the bill. Studies have shown that changes in emissions of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and a sulfate aerosol precursor, and black carbon particles resulting from the replacement of coal by fossil gas in the electric utility sector initially produces higher temperatures relative to continued coal use and can last from 1 to 30 years, depending on the sulfur controls assumed.
Nanokuthi ke ifundo noma ucwaningo solwenziyo liyakhombisa ukuthi ukushintsha igas ukuthi isetshenziswe yona kunolahle kugcina kuholela ekuthenini kube khona i-carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide ne-sulfate aerosol okuyikona okugcina kwenza ukushisa okukhulu kwimvelo noma emhlabeni kanti ke futhi nokusetshenziswa kwawo ukuze kuphehlwe ugesi kungagcina kuholela ekuthenini kube namazinga aphezulu okushisa angaphezulu kwaloko okubangela ukusetshenziswa kwelahle lokho kungahlala iminyaka esuka kowodwa kuze kuyoba iminyaka engamashumi amathathu lokho kuncike ekuthenini ke isulfur ilawulwa kanjani uma ngabe kwenziwa lokho.
This can be followed by cooling, but it obviously depends on sulfate aerosol precursor SO2 emissions and consequent sulfate aerosol forcing, and the relative efficiencies of the power plants involved in the switch.
Lokho ke kuncike kakhulu nakwi-sulfate aerosol SO2 uthi ikhiqizeka kangakanani nanokuthi ke futhi ngabe igcina ingakanani emkhathini kanye nanokuthi ke lezi iziphehli mandla noma lokho abathi ama power plants kusebenza kanjani kulesi simo.
Fossil fuel switching may therefore continue to take a toll on the environment and society. The CMCC Foundation and European Institute of Economics and the Environment and the Athens University of Economics and Business have projected a cost of up to 20% of GDP in their investigation into how climate change could impact the GDP of South Africa.
Ngakho ke ukuguqukela kulokusetshenziswa kwama fossil fuel kungaba nomthelela kwimvelo nasemphakathini ngoba i-CMCC Foundation, European Institute on Economics kanye ne-Environment and Athens University of Economics and Business benze ucwaningo bathola ukuthi iy'ndleko zalokhu zingaba ama-percent angamashumi amabili 20% e-GDP ukubonakala ukuthi lokhu kungaba umthelela ongakanani lokho kuthi ukuguquka kwesimo sezulu noma climate change okuwumthelela ongaba khona lapha eNingizimu Afrika.
Delayed action on an energy transition away from fossil fuels could maximize adverse impacts to a just transition and minimize the opportunities offered by a transformation of the energy sector. State promises of the 34% greenhouse gas reduction by 2020 and meeting the 42% business as usual emission reduction trajectory of 2025 target and the transition from coal to renewables by 2030 are hollow and have not materialized.
Ukhudula inyawo ke ekusukeni ekusetshenzisweni kwaloko abathi ama fossil fuels kungaba nomthelela omubi kulolu guquko futhi ke kunganciphisa namathuba alethwa ukuguqulwa komkhakha wezamandla. Uhulumeni uthembisa ama-percent angamashumi amathathu nane 34 wamagesi lawa kuthiwa ama-greenhouse ngonyaka ka-2020 kodwa ke ugcina u-42% walo okuthiwa business as usual noma okukhiqizwa ngokujwayelekile okwamagesi eminyakeni engu-2020 eminyaka ngasonyakeni ka-2025 lokhu ke kuchaza ukuthi ukushintsha ukusetshenziswa kwelahle noma kubuyelwa kuloko kuthiwa ama-renewals ngonyaka ka-2030 kuyinto engeke izikwazi ukuthi yenzeke ngendlela ekubekwa ngayo.
The International Energy Agency has concluded that if planetary systems are to remain within the 2-degree limit, no more than 1/3 of proven reserves of fossil fuels can be consumed prior to 2050. Therefore, 2/3 of proven reserves of oil, coal, and fossil gas, including reserves that corporations have paid billions of dollars for, must be left in the ground to stay within the global carbon budget. Neither international law nor domestic law has ever mandated the stranding of assets of that magnitude and needs consideration before the public purse is involved in massive infrastructural build that will take until 2035 to complete.
I-International Energy Agency ke iphothule ngokuthi uma ngabe ngempela kufanele ukuthi kugcinwe izinga lokushisa lomhlaba lisemazingeni amukelekile kufanele ukuthi lokho okuyizimbiwa okubizwa ngama fossil fuels kuhlale kungambiwe kusemhlabathini ukuze kwenzeke lokho kanti futhi ke umthetho womhlaba wonke noma walapha ezweni lethu awukaze ubeke ukuthi lezi zinto kufanele zihlale zinjalo ngokucacile ngakho kufanele ukuthi ke kube khona umsebenzi emkhulu yengqalazinto ezokwenziwa okungaze gcine kufika enyakeni ka-2035 ukuze kufezwe.
The basic rationale of an industry built around a relatively small number of massive but highly vulnerable facilities to climate change and extreme weather events is now being called into question.
Umqondo ke ukuthi imboni ingakhiwa ngesisekelo esincane kodwa kube kulindwe ukuthi kwakhe okukhulu ubenza ukuthi ke kubuze ukuthi hayibo ingabe lokhu kungenzeka kanjani uma ngabe kungeke kuze kube nomthelela esimeni sezulu.
Carbon capture technologies are not profitable, potentially unfeasible, and have questionable climate benefits.
Kanti ke nebuchwepheshe bokuzama ukubamba ke icarbon ukuthi ingayi emkhathini ayinanzuzo futhi ayibukeki isebenza kahle futhi kusanokungabaza ukuthi ngabe kusiza ngani ekwenzeni lokho.
There are some massive omissions to the bill which need to be listed. Absence of precautionary principle, absence of environmental consideration, absence of polluter pays principle, absence of a national...
Sorry, ma'am. I want us to be fair to each other. I'm not trying to be rude, but the truth, if we say 5 minutes, if somebody speaks for 20 minutes, it means 3 people would have finished an hour. Can I put you on hold?
Chairperson, forgive me, but I'm
no, but these
reducing
people, ma'am, that are here, they also want to make a contribution. So I can't give others 5 minutes and give you 20 minutes. Let's be fair.
Sir, this whole speech doesn't take...
no, we
20
don't need
minutes.
speeches. That's exactly the point I'm trying to say. It's not a speech. We can take the submission. And I said, if after each speaker we finish each one 5 minutes, we will go back to the speakers for the second time who would not have finished what they wanted to say.
So why have I been interrupted when I'm talking about the list of emissions and major emissions?
When I started, didn't I say 5 minutes?
Sure.
So why do you want now to change that 5 minutes?
I'm happy to sit down.
Yes, I'm saying if we get time, we will come back to you again if you still want to add. But if we don't get time, you've got a right to submit what was left
I
to
have
the
written a
staff.
submission. I have written a submission, but I was here because I asked to give a
No,
verbal
ma'am,
submission.
but ma'am, let's respect each other. I said, when I put time, let's respect each other.
No, sure.
There
Arguing
are
about
people
this, I
after.
could have finished.
So you say this person behind you must spend 20 minutes sitting in that chair waiting for you to finish.
I could have finished by now, sir.
No,
Thank you.
can you continue, sir? Can we try and be fair to each other? It's not even being fair to us. Be fair to yourselves. Give each other enough time so that all of us here, I always make an example. If you give 5 people and they speak for 10 minutes, that is 50 minutes. So can you continue, sir?
Ngicela ke sicabangelane bakwethu ngokwesikhathi sigcina isikhathi ngicela uqhubeke mfowethu.
Ngibingelele. Lo ngaphambi kwenu Ayanda wakasibisi.
Greetings, my name is Ayanda Sbisi.
Kade ngumfundi elangeni college. Ngenza ugesi.
I'm a student. I was a student at Elangeni College studying electricity.
Thina lapha esikoleni esikufunde kakhulu ngokuphehla kwagesi lo kwamalahla.
What we studied intensively during my studies was the coal generated power.
Engifisa ukuthi sichazele kona lana mangiya lapha ku page number 3 I point lapha ku K kunama types of gas.
What I need understanding or clarity on is if you go to page number 3, point number K, they talk about types of gas.
Bengifisa ukuthi mengaba khona ongasichazela ngawo wonke lama gas lawa nje.
I wish there was somebody who can explain to us about all these types of gases that are mentioned here.
Yebo ukuthi asebenza kanjani ngoba ngiyacabanga ukuthi nabantu bayafisa ukwazi ukuthi before sivume nje badusho nje baba ukuthi fanele sivume ukuthi siyamsana ngiphakamisa ukuthi ngivuma ngobani ngakuhle ukuthi mangithi ngiyavuma sengichazeliwe kahle ukuthi igas yona le izobe isebenza kanjani lama gas lawa asebenza kanjani.
So that we'll get a clarity as to how do these gases work, so that when we do agree, as you have indicated at the beginning, we know exactly what we are agreeing to because we know how these gases work.
Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much.
Sanibonani.
Greetings to everybody.
Ngicela ukubingelela ubuholi bonke obungaphambi kwethu.
I would like to greet the leadership that is in front of us.
Igama nguDennis wakamthalane,
My name is Dennis Mtalani
oqhamuka eWard 76
from Ward 76
eMlazi.
in Umlazi.
Ngilapha ngimele inhlangano yemen's sector.
I'm here representing the organization called Men's Sector.
Ngiyilunga lika Khongolose ngicela.
I'm an ANC member in good standing.
Ngibonge ithuba engilitholile. Ngizoqala ngokubonga ubuholi esithunyelwe bona la ukuza kuthina emazingeni aphansi ukuze sobheka sibe ingxenye nathi ezichibelo ezikhona.
I would like to thank the opportunity I've been afforded to come here, and also thank the leadership for coming here to listen to our views.
Sibonge ukuthi sinohulumeni wethu onakekelayo okwazi ukuhambela emazingeni aphansi, uhulumeni wabantu obathanda abantu.
We are also thankful for the government that we have, which seeks to come to people on the ground and hear their views.
Kune sigaba 14 sokuchithelwa komthetho, isigaba 21 ogunyaza izikhungo zezamandla ukuba kungezwe eminye imbandela kwizicelo zama license. Singamadoda aseThekwini engathi lesasigaba sesichibelo siyasithanda kakhulu.
I'm looking at section 14 of the amendments, and as the men's sector here, we are very much in support of that particular amendment.
Okunye nje ebengizocela ukubuza ukuthi ingabe mhlambe kukhona yini esingasizakala ngako lapha emphakathini if sinezifiso zokuthi sibe ingxenye yokusetshenziswa kwegesi, mhlambe amakhono esingawathola sikwazi ukuthuthukiswa ngokwezamakhono ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sibe nathi sembonini yawo igesi.
I also would like to get clarity as to if we want to have an interest in terms of entering into the sector, what type of skills development and other skills can we be given in order to be able to participate in the sector?
Ngoba uma ngabe nje sizobheka kahle kulesikhathi samanje,
Because
imisebenzi ayikho.
if we were to look carefully, nowadays there is not a lot of jobs or employment that is available.
Okunye okubuye kusivalele ngaphandle uthothi uma ngabe uapplyela imisebenzi kunalento ethi uma ngabe useneminyaka edlulile ku 35 years awukwazi ukuqasheka ngoba kuthiwa usumdala.
And also there's this condition that says if you are above 35 years of age, you cannot be employable.
Ezinye izinto eziye siphazamiseke lapho uthola ukuthi ekubeni singamadoda kuthiwa singama provider singabavikeli bemndeni nomama nezingane kanye namanye amadoda angakwazi ukuyivikela.
And this gives us a problem because as men, we are called providers and protectors of our wives, our women, children, and also other men who are unable to take care of themselves.
Singakujabulela ukuthi uhulumeni wethu lo mthetho othi ukuqashwa kwabantu kumele kuqale ku 18 years kuye ku 35. Noma umuntu ke uma kwenzeka ukuthi okay useneminyaka engaphezulu kuka 35 if enalo ikhono singakujabulela ukubona ethathwa noma engenalo ikhono athathweke phela nakulezi ezinye indawo le ayifitha khona ngoba isimo somnotho asihle. Ezinye zezinto lezi ezilidela ekutheni kube khona ukuhlukumezeka komama nezingane ngoba indoda uma ngabe ilambile iyebukeke iba nolaka ngoba indlala ibangulaka.
And also we would like to have a consideration made especially around this issue of employability between 18 and 35 years so that those who are above 35 years can be given skills, and if they have skills, let them be placed somewhere. Because we believe through unemployment, this leads to increase in abuse against women and children. As we know, hunger causes anger.
Singamadoda simelene nokuhlukunyezwa komama nezingane kanye namanye amadoda.
As men, we are against abuse of children, women and other men.
Ngicela ukubonga.
I thank you.
Okay, siyabonga kulezi ezinye izikhulumi.
Thank you to all the other speakers.
So attend amahlasa kodwa ngiyakubona usifake enkingeni kakhulu futhi.
I will attend to you, but I think you are going to put us in trouble.
Asiqale sizabanye.
Let us start by
Sizobheka
hearing
ukuthi
others.
lo mbuzo wakho usuphendula kanjani.
We will see how we answer.
Singazange sibe kanti sikhulumela umnyango.
I'll see how we answer your question without really speaking on behalf of the department.
Njengoba bese ngishilo.
As I've
Sikhona
said.
ezinye izandla?
Are there other new hands?
Okay, there is a hand. We are number 1.
There's number 1.
Is there any other hand?
Sikhona esinye isandla?
Is there any other hand?
Sikhona esinye isandla?
Is there any other hand? Okay, you can come, ma'am, again.
Ungeza ke mama futhi.
We are number 2.
Zobo number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, sanibonani. Ngibingelele ubuholo obukhona okuhlezi phambi kwethu la phambili.
Good morning. May I greet the leadership that is in front of us? Sorry.
Igama lami uMboniseni wakashezi
My name is Mboniseni Shezi.
ngokuhlala ngakwaMashu ku Ward 39.
I'm from Kwamashu, Ward 39.
Ngilunga le-African Transformation Movement, ATM.
I'm an ATM movement. I'm an African Transformation Movement member, ATM.
Into ebengifuna ngiqale ngithi qala ngibonge qala ngijabula ukuthi iParliament likwazi ukuthi lize kubantu uzokhuluma nathi.
Let me start by thanking Parliament for coming down to talk to us as the community.
Mase ngijabulisa noma ngijabule noma ngibonge ukuthi lokho sikhuluma ngakho khona utolika noma khona utolika ukuze nathi bantu abakhuluma ulimi lwesiZulu sikwazi ukuzwa into eshoyo.
And I'm very grateful as well for the provision of interpreters so that us as isiZulu speakers can be able to understand what is being said.
Into ke senginayo manje ukuthi ngoba sikhuluma ngale gas amendment bill ayikho indlela engenziwa ukuthi abantu bekwazi ukuyithola ngolimi lwesiZulu kakhulukazi la ngoba sila KwaZulu-Natal nje siyithole ngolimi lwesiZulu ukuze sizokwazi uyi-understanda kahle sonke singabi ya-understandwa yidlanzana kuphela.
Nanokuthi ke njengoba sikhuluma ngalezi chibiyelo kulomthetho wegas bengibuza ukuthi ngabe awukwazi ukuthi utholakale ngolimi lwesiZulu ukuze nathi sikwazi ukulifunda ngolimi lethu siqonde konke okushiwoyo ngawo ukuze sikwazi ukuthi nathi sibe neqhaza solibamba.
Ya ngoba mawubuka la izinto ezibalekile lento ebibuzwa umfowethu lapha nithi sifuna sichazwe onke amagesi ukuthi iyodwa isho ukuthini leni isebenza kanjani isebenza kanjani. So singakujabulela ukuthi iParliament lenze inhlelo zokuthi mayizoza la KwaZulu-Natal lisenzele ngolimi lwesiZulu ukuze sonke abantu bekwazi ukuyifunda be-understand ilokho bengizokuphawula nje ngiyabonga.
My contribution was saying that we need to have these being printed in our own languages so that we can be able to make a meaningful contribution, so that when the Parliament comes down to talk to us, we can be able to contribute and make significant inputs into the document. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me back up.
Ngiyabonga ngethuba lokungibiza futhi. May you please nimlungisele i-mic. Ngoba sifuna ukumuzwa kahle.
Ngiyabonga. With regard to emissions, I'm going to go back to that list. Absence of precautionary principle, absence of environmental consideration, absence of polluter pays principle, absence of a national mitigation plan, absence of annual review, absence of cost-benefit analysis, strategic environmental assessment for the gas master plan. These things are not available to the public.
Njengoba ngishilo ekuqaleni ke lezi zinto ezilandelayo azikho azinikeziwe umphakathi. Ukushoda kwe-precautionary principle, environmental consideration usho ukuthi ezemvelo, polluter pays principle ukuthi onukubeza imvelo uyakhokha, ungabi bikho kohlelo lokubheka ukuthi ngaba yiziphi inkinga ezingatholakala lokwabathi national mitigation plan, ukubuyekezwa unyaka nonyaka lokwabathi annual review, cost benefit analysis ukuhlaziywa ke kwezindleko nenzuzo ngokwenziwayo, kanye ke nesu lokwabathi strategic environmental assessment for gas master plan, for the gas master plan. Lezi zinto azikho.
There's a system of fox guards, the hen house here, where functions of the energy regulator that delegate both regulatory and promotion participation requires review to ensure that the regulator's prescribed mandates to act independently of any undue influence or instruction are not undermined in interests of expedience or profit by the regulator's obligations to promote gas development.
Lokhu thina sikubuka nje ukuthi kunesimo la impungushe kuyiyona egade ihoko leyinkukhu. Ngokuthi ke lokhu yena abathi uregulator noma okuyena obheke ukusebenza kwalezi inkampani uyena ngomthetho kufanele ukwenza lokhu ngendlela engachemile futhi engancikile noma engenawo ukujutshwa noma ukufakelwa ingcindezi abanye abantu uma sibheka ke lokhu okubhalwe ku NERSA 9C. Lokhu sibona ukuthi ke kufanele ukuthi kungabe sekuthathwa kancane ngoba nakubheka ukuthi kwakhiwe inzuzo bese ke ukusebenza komqondisi noma sithi lo okuyayi kuba umqaphi noma uregulator kube into esithatha nje njengento engenawo umthelela omuhle ekwenziweni komsebenzi wegesi.
A number of the clauses in the bill are too broad or vague and afford the minister and the energy regulator practically boundless justification and interpretation and may occasion highly disproportionate results. Vague and ambiguous clauses deprive the applicant, authorities and the public of notice about what the law requires and serve to undermine compliance.
Okunye ke ukuthi ke imithetho noma izingxenye zalomthetho zibanzi kakhulu futhi azihlalo odabeni ngendlela ecacile okunikeza ke ungqongqoshe kanye naye lo abathu energy regulator izathu noma ukuthi bakwazi ukubheka lokho ngendlela echemile noma engabe nayo imphumela ezuzisa wonke othintekayo. Kanti futhi ke lezi noma lezi ingxenye zalemthetho zincisha lo osuke efaka isicelo noma abasemagunyeni kanye nomphakathi ukuthi baziswe ngokuthi umthetho udingani nanokuthi futhi ke yini ebangela ukuthi kube kuthathwa ngokuthi lokhu noma akugcinwanga umthetho ngendlela efanele.
If the development of a fossil gas infrastructure indeed follows the idealized and rapid deployment assumed in the bill and the IRP models, then any reduction in near-term mitigation caused by the appeal of gas as a bridging fuel will still lead to an overshoot of the Paris temperature goals.
Uma ke ngabe kuthiwa zonke izinto ezihleliwe ngokwengqalazinda nako konke okunye okuhambelana nomthetho kanye naloko abathi ama-IRP lokhu kuchaza ukuthi kushuthi ngisho kuthiwa konke lokhu kuyenziwa kuzogcina kusanesidingo sokuthi noma kuzogcina kunomphumela ukuthi lokhu kuhlosiwe ngokwesivumelwano saseParis kungagcini kufeziwe.
If the many warnings and reservations increasingly voiced about fugitive emissions turn out to be valid, the weakening of near-term mitigation and the failure of future gas as transition development will be a prelude to rapid temperature rises reminiscent of the 4-degree business-as-usual pathway feared before the Paris Agreement.
Uma ngabe ke izixwayiso nokukhathazeka ngezinye futhi izinto eziyigesi ezikhiqizekayo uma lokhu kuyiqiniso kuchaza ukuthi kushuthi konke lokho sekwenziwe noma okucabanga ukuthi kwenziwe kuyoholela ekuthenini kube khona ke ukunyuka ngama degrees awu4 kushuthi 4 degrees we temperature okuyinto nayo ehambelani nesivumelwano saseParis.
Facilitating gas infrastructure development and the investment is not an insurance policy, but rather an unjust and high-stakes gamble. There is a real risk that they will be unable to deliver on the scale of their promise. If the emphasis on equity and risk aversion embodied in the Paris Agreement are to have traction, the promotion of the development of the gas industry should not form the basis of the mitigation agenda. The mitigation agenda should proceed on the premise that they will not work at scale. The implications of failing to do otherwise are a moral hazard par excellence.
Kanti futhi ke ukuqhubeka nokuthuthukiswa kwengqalazizinda yegas nokutshala izimali lokhu akusiyona into mhlawumbe singathi iwumshwalense noma iyasivikele kodwa ke kuyinto ethatha ishansi noma ukugembula okukhulu ingakho ke sibona ukuthi kuumncipho okukhulu ukuthi singakwazi ukugcina sigcine isithembiso sethu saloko ababiza ngesivumelwano saseParis futhi uma ngabe lesivumelwano sifuna ukuthi sibe nomthelela omuhle kufanele ukuthi ngomthetho konke okwenziwa ukuthuthukiswa kwegas kungabi isekela sokubheka izinto kufanele ngabe zenziwe ukuze sinciphise ukukhiqizwa kwegas. Ngakho ke kubalekile ukuthi ke sigcizelele ukuthi lokhu ke ukusebenza ngegas akuyona into mhlawumbe ezogcina nje ngokukhathaza noma ukubeka izwe engcupheni kodwa kuyinto engahambelani nezimiso esisebenza ngaphansi kwazo.
My thanks. Obviously, there's a lot more in the written submission, and I look forward to your response.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu kuningi okunye okusesiphakamisweni sami ngizolindela ke impendulo. Ngiyabonga.
Okay. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you very much.
Ake ngiphinde ngibheke sikhona ezinye izandla ezifisa ukuphawula.
May I also check if there are any other hands that need to voice their opinions or state their views?
Aw. Hayi ke. eThekwini mangabe besise auction abangithi going one.
Wow, I'm
Going
surprised.
to-
If we were in auction, I would be saying going once, going twice,
Going three.
going thrice.
No, I would not have sold anything.
I wouldn't have sold anything.
Ngake
ngidayise
Ayake ngidayise lutho nje. Well, I would have been benzoba umuntu omumbi njengo ongeke azaqashwe. Umsebenzi wami ngebuphelile manje ngoba uma bekuthiwa imoto kanye inkomo ngeke ngadayisanga lutho.
As an auctioneer, I would have been out of a job because I would have not sold anything by now.
There is a hand here, number one.
Khona isandla esila number 1.
Even there lapho phezulu manifisa ukuphawula nivumelekile uthi nje la kugcwele phansi.
Also at the top, you are also allowed to make comments. You can raise your hands and you'll be given an
Sikhona
opportunity.
esinye?
Is there any other hand?
Yabona. Abantu baseThekwini
People of Durban,
yazi ukuthi ninenhlanhla kanjani ukuthi zona zonke lezi ndawo kube yinina iTheku nomhlathuzo. Kodwa ke ngoba
do you realize how lucky you are because it was just yourselves and Umhlatuze that we are visiting?
okay. Ozaba.
Please come through, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for this
Sanibonani, ngiyabonga.
opportunity.
Ngethuba.
I'm not going to speak much on the bill. My name is Neil Expert. I'm from an area called Westville, Meerwind, and Meerbank. It's on the South Durban Basin. It's called Ward 68. I'm sure you guys would be aware of it. It has engine.
Sorry, ngeke ngikhulume kakhulu kodwa igama lami ngu
Neil Expert.
Neil
Export.
Export. Ngiqhamuka endaweni ethu ise Osterville ngase Meerwind ku area leyo ibiza ku 68. Ngicabanga ukuthi niyazi kakhulu ngayo.
Okay. The engine oil refinery is there, and another big gas company it was Hosef. I think it's Sepripol at the moment. I think you guys are most aware of the 4th of December, the fire that happened at Engine, and the leak earlier that year as well at Sepripol Hosef as well.
Niyazi ke ukuthi kunenkampani ekuthiwa uSafripol olapha endaweni yethu futhi nezwa ngokuqhuma noma umlilo owabakhona engine owukuhlangene nawo futhi uSafripol.
I think like many and myself, we always looking for solutions and answers with regards to how this gas or emissions affect the community.
Njengabaningi nathi sihlezi sifuna ukuthi sithole ixazululo ukuthi ngabe ke le gas noma ukukhiqizwa kwayo kuthinta kanjani noma kukhathaza kanjani umphakathi.
Okay. I'm also sure you guys from Parliament would be aware of the respiratory problems within our ward. I think if you look at the stats throughout South Africa, we're one of the wards which have the highest respiratory sickness in our community.
Ngicabanga ukuthi njengabantu baseParliament futhi niyazi ngeyinkinga ezikhona ezizifo zesifuba ezikhona endaweni yethu njengoba singezinye zeindawo ezinamazinga aphezulu ezifo zesifuba.
Okay, with the gas that goes through that affects our community and our environment. As we were on a campaign trail this year, many of the people were asking a lot of questions. One of the questions they asked was that as the citizens or the community members, they keep getting committed to committees within the community to represent them on behalf of the community. But these committees are not being open, transparent, and neither do they come back with the results that the community members want with regards to all their claims that they put through or doctor's certificates and reports that they've given these committees that's supposed to represent the community members.
Njengoba senza umkhankaso nje emphakathini sikhuluma nomphakathi sithola umphakathi ukhala ngokuthi kunamakomiti akhethwayo ukuthi abhekelele indaba zokuphepha kanye nezinto ezithinta ukuhlaliseka komphakathi njengoba nje beseduze ngonalezi imboni esikutholayo ukuthi ke lamakomiti awabuye ezobikela umphakathi ukuthi ngabe yini etholakale mayelana nezinxephezelo ngokugula abakutholile noma ngokwembiko ekhishwa wodokotela emayelana nokuphatheka kwabo ngokwesifuba.
I think what I'm looking for here is how do you hold those committees accountable and how do you get these gas big conglomerate companies to account to the community like you're having a public participation meeting over here. They affect the community. The community then responds through the toll-free numbers. They respond with the medical certificates, but never get to here. So at this point in time, there's no trust in those companies, and the community gets angered, even of the people that do represent them. We would like to know how would you guys be able to assist us with regards to holding those people accountable, and even the committees that present us, because we all know money makes funny, and we know what those people are up to.
ukuthi ke besifisa ukuthi sikuthola ukuthi ngasiza kanjani ukuze sigcine laba abantu abakulama komiti kanye nalezi inkampani ezenza izumbulu zemali emphakathini wethu bekwazi babuye baphendule ngezinto abazenzile ngoba nje basazi nje ukuthi emphakathini wethu inkampani lezi azikaze zibuye zizokwenza lutho ukunxephezela abantu noma ukuthi abathola imbiko yodokotela ekhombisa ukuthi baguliswe yini kodwa akukho kutholakala futhi nje wanazi nje ukuthi ke imali iyaye kube yiyona eyenza izinto zenzeke ngendlela noma engalungile kusifuna ukuthi ke nisisize ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi ke le inkampani kanye nalama committee sibabeke lapho ukuthi bakwazi bachaza ukuthi kwenzakalani.
Okay, the other topic I want to discuss is that we, a community just surrounded by industry with a lot of gas. Right now, if something has to explode in our community, there's no disaster plan given to the community so that they would be knowing exactly how the evacuation process would take or undergo. So right now, who's responsible? Because they say they're responsible for on-site and they say the Itsukweni is responsible for off-site disaster plan. But if something happened now in our community, nobody would know exactly what is the disaster plan or what should take place.
Njengoba nje ngihlala emphakathini ke onezimboni ezisebenza ngegas asinalo uhlelo lwenhlekelele lokho abathi disaster plan uma sithi sibuza inkampani zisitshela ukuthi zona zibheke okungaphakathi kwenkampani kanti ke ngaphandle kwenkampani bathi ke umasipala ukubona ufuna ukubhekelele lokho kodwa thina njengomphakathi sihleli sengozini ngoba alukho uhlelo lwenhlekelele esilinikeziwe asazi ukuthi kuma ngabe kuthiwa kuba nenhlekelele funeka senze njani.
Okay, the other thing with regards to nature or community or infrastructure, if you go along Tora Road where Engine is, for years they've been digging up the underground pipes to repair it for whatever reasons. But if you go along that road, it's one of the main roads in our community. It's still a bumpy road and nothing's been done about it. Again, there we don't know who to hold responsible. If you go to Hosev or Sepripol, there's a lot of flats over there from the Department of Human Settlements. Those flats and the people, the flats, the outside and inside gets damaged, and the people get all these rashes and skin diseases. So as I'm going to go back and forth with regards to how can a single or a normal person or a layman on the streets get the answers that they want, or how do they hold these people accountable, both the conglomerates and the people that are representing us. Right now, for the last 15 years, we've under the same ward councillor or the same political party, the same people representing our people. They lost faith, they've lost trust and hope in these people. How can we change it that we get new people or even get the answers from those companies as to exactly who's got paid out, when they got paid out, so that the people are well aware of the open and transparency with regards to even accountability.
Njengoba nje ngishilo ngathi ngihlala eWentworth kunendawo kunomgwaqo othi uTora Road la kunamapayipi ke akade embiwa bakwa engine bezama ukwalungisa noma befaka amasha okuthe okholele kuthena nomgwaqo ugcine unamabhampu namanje lawo mabhampu asakhona okunye futhi kunama flat akhiwe okhiwe umnyango ke wokuhlaliswa kwabantu abathi human settlements abantu abahlala kulawo ma flat nabo basendaweni ene gas bayithola sebene noma ukuthi isikhumba sabo singasekho esimene esihle ngenxa yokuthi bahlala kule ndawo abahlala kuyona nakhona namanje njengoba ngisho nje sinama committee akhona kufanele ngabe iwona abuyayo azobika kuthina ukuthi sekukhokhelwe bani ukhokhelwe malini njengesinxephezelo kodwa kwenzeki sisacela ke namanje ngisazocela nisisize ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sithole ukuthi ingabe labantu bangagcinwa kanjani ukuthi basebenze ngendlela efanele kanti futhi neinkampani siwumphakathi nje noma ngumuntu nje osemgaqweni ngingenze njani ukuze ngithole impendulo engizidingayo kuba njengamanje asizitholi.
Okay, I'm just going to conclude over here. With regards to the disaster plan being knowledge, sent out and communicated to the community, we'd also like to know, I presented some issues to you as to the contact details and people that we can approach so they can deal with some of our issues. I thank you.
Sengiphetha nje bengicela ukuthi ngiphinde ngithole ukuthi ngabe ke abantu abasebenza ngokwezinhlekelele ibani esingathola mhlawumbe inombolo noma ke uyindlela zokuxhumana nabo njengoba bese ngingasenza isiphakamiso kini ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sixhumane nabo ukuze sikwazi ukuthola mayelana nohlelo lwenhlekelele noma lo bathi disaster plan. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
asibonge
Thank you very much.
ngo lembono yenu
Thank you for your submissions
neyinkinga enisinikeze zona
and the challenges that you've highlighted to us,
yokusibuza imibuzo enzima.
which were comprised of asking us difficult questions.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kukhona ningangibuza ukuthi ngiyithatha le advantage yokwazi izithakazelo zabantu.
I think there's a certain, but don't ask me how I know people's clan names.
Angiqale ngo uba uDlaba
Let me start with the Dlaba,
ubaba uShezi.
Mr. Shez.
Cha asixolise kuwe nakubantu abaningi
Let me apologize to you and many other people.
ngoba angiboni ukuthi ubukhulumela wena wedwa
I don't think you're only speaking for yourself.
ukuthi anilitholanga lolhlangothi lesizulu kulomthetho kulezi ichibiyelo kumthetho okhona.
That you did not get the amendments in isiZulu.
Kuthiwa zikhona
I'm told that they are available
lapha ngemuva
at the back of the hall.
kodwa isizathu sokuthi ngithi angixolise
The reason I'm apologizing,
bengafanele ukuthi nizohlangana nesizulu la ehall.
it wasn't supposed to be a case of you getting hold of the isiZulu version
Bekufanele
here
uma
at the hall.
nithola lesingisi nithole naso lesi nesizulu sihamba zombili.
You should have received both English and isiZulu
So
documents.
uqinisile ke iyona lento ngithi angixolise ngoba ushintwe iyona.
You are right. That's why I'm apologizing, because you are actually saying something that is true.
Nathi ke nakwezinye indawo siyakhona sokwenza isiqiniseko ukuthi uma lama document aphuma efana.
I will also ensure that in the other places that we're going to visit, the documents are provided in a manner that is the same.
Ngiyabaleka usibisi ne
Is it Sbisi?
Mahlasi
Mahlas?
hayi washaya yabo yadubula ngempela manje.
You see, you are actually firing on all cylinders now.
Asizame sinayo what sinako ukuthi lezi into zimbili kwigas
We have an issue.
ukuthi yenziwa kanjani oyenzeka kanjani
We have two
nokuthi
things.
isebenza kanjani.
We have two things. One is how is it manufactured or produced, and then also the second one is how does it work.
Yesaba ke manje masingachaza yonke ukuthi le yenzeka kanje lento. Okwesibili sigcine omunye umuntu esebuza ukuthi engani nina nithe sizichibiyelo. Singakwenza nje ukuthi imikhona indlela mina nawe sihlangane nawe mhlawumbe ngicele nala kwistaff sethu secommittee ukwenzela ukuthi ukuya phambili ngoba ngibona ukuthi nawe ububuzela nje wena kuphela ukuya phambili bayikwazi ukuyithumela le tubuyibuza bakwazi ukuyikhipha itholwe nawo umuntu wonke. Uma senze isibonelo uma uthi ngoba uma sizoyichaza ezinye izinto indlela ezichazwe ngayo zingabuye kube nombuzo ukuthi uyithatha phi lento ukuthi isebenza ngalendlela usho ngayo. Zonke isibonelo uma ngifika ngithi le iyona right ngoba isebenza ngokuthi asukuma umunye athi but yona kanye inkinga ngoba ngokwezemvelo okanye ngokwezendalo iyona esilimazayo. So manje ke uma ngibheka mina ezinye lokuzana lana zingagcina zisiqalise enye inkulumo kungcono nje senze thina lokho ekufanele ukuthi kwenziwe ngumnyango ngoba ngicela ukuthi umnyango befanele uthi uma uchaza njengobusho nazi inhlobo zegesi ezikhona ingazibeki nje zisebenza kanje zenzeka kanje zisebenza kanje zisebenza kwizimo ezinje. Uma ke saqala thina la silikomiti sizobe sithatha ngendlela nabo abayichazayo ukuthi zisebenza kanjani. Uma ungivumela nje Mahlase akunankinga sizokwenza kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi ususivusile if ikhona indlela ngokomthetho befanele yenziwa ngumnyango kodwa uma ikhona indlela manje sizokwenza lokhu kushoyo hayi not for wena kuphela asenzeli wena kuphela sizozama ukuthi senzele wonke umuntu ukuthi achazeleke ususivusile nakule yinto uma uphatheka kahle noma ukuthi uma ngabe singavumelana nje Mahlase zikhona zona ngingachaza nokuthi enze kodwa ayi ezinye uma ngathi ngiyayichaza nje ungagcina kusokusuka enye into la endlini uma ungivumela ke kodwa unelungelo uma usuqedile ungeza uzothatha uzoyithola sizokwenza indlela nokuthi uma senza lento okuthiwa kuyipublicize siyifake kule nathi kwi-publication yaseParliament yethu.
Thank you, Mr. Mahlase. You have alerted us to another important point, because I'm sure you're not asking for yourself, but this also will benefit a lot of other people, members of the public. The cases you were asking about, if I was to start explaining, it will then lead to another long, prolonged discussion, which also we might not really have answers to, because there will be questions as to where do you get the information that suggests that this gas works better than that one. So I have the committee section behind me who have that information in terms of the two things, how the gases are produced and how do they work. You can always get that information from us. But in terms of going forward, we'll also try and make sure that this information is made available to the public as well, so that people will have a better understanding. So thank you for raising and alerting us to that, because I know you're not asking for yourself, but this will also benefit a number of other people. Thank you.
Apam kokuthi sibe no ngabona eThekwini senzele sibe nosuku olufishane ukhona ngabe ke ngimshiya ngaphandle yima
Before I conclude and have a short day, I just want to check one more time. Is there anybody maybe that I may be leaving out?
Oh, sorry. Babu Petford, ne? Exford.
Mr. Exford.
No, okay. The problem is that you are putting us in a fix.
Inkinga ukuthi usibeka enkingeni enkulu.
You know, in my previous life,
Ngenkathi ngisaphila kwenye impilo,
people will elect their representatives.
abantu babekhetha abantu abazobamela.
And then when the representatives are no longer doing what they want to be done,
Uma ke abakhethiwe bengasawenza umsebenzi ekufanele bawenze,
they will then blame as if those people were elected by somebody else.
bese abantu benze ngazo ukuthi labo bantu babekhethwe omunye umuntu.
It's going to be impossible for anyone to make somebody account who by nature of the position is occupying was not elected according to the rules that person who you expect to do accountability can.
Akuzukwazi ke kube lula ukuthi umuntu enze umuntu achaze, kodwa kube ngokwemthetho asebenza ngaphansi kwayo ekubeni lo muntu ebengabekwanga yilowo elindele ukuthi ke enze labo bantu bachaze.
It's like what I always say: if you form a board
Ukuthi mangabe nosuke nenza ke i-board
as a community,
njengomphakathi,
and then that trust board chows everything,
bese ukuthi lelo board noma leyo trust idle
it's
yonke.
impossible to make even government now or any institution to make those people account.
Kunzima ke ukuthi ngisho nohulumeni enze labo bantu bachaze ngeimali.
Now, if the community decides
Kodwa ke uma umphakathi ke wona ukhetha
to appoint a team
ukuthi ukhethe ithimba
or any structure to represent them,
noma iluphi uhlaka oluzomela,
that structure is accountable to the community.
leso noma lolo hlaka ke kufanele lichazele umphakathi ngokwenzekayo.
But sitting here
Kodwa mina ngihleli la
I doubt there's anyone who doesn't know the issue of the South Basin.
ngicabanga ukuthi akekho ongazi ngodaba lwe-South Basin.
We will just beg your indulgence
Sizocela nje ukuthi usinikeze ithuba
because I know that the Committee on Environment, after the 4th December incident, did visit the area.
ngiyazi ukuthi ikomiti lezemvelo emva kwenhlekelele yango-4 December lafika endaweni
So it's not this committee.
akulona leli komiti
But what I can advise
kodwa ke ngakucebisa
is to check, because what I know, their report was adopted by the National Assembly.
ngiyazi ukuthi umbiko walo lela komiti ke wamukelwa ke isishamthetho.
I will then check, maybe when we are done, check with the secretaries of this team of ours.
Ngizochecka ke nonobhala bethimba lethu.
They should link you with the secretary of the Committee on Environment,
Bazokuxhumanisa nonobhala wekomiti
as well as the executive secretary of the chairperson of the committee responsible for environment.
nonobhala omkhulu ke wasihlalo walelo komiti
But
lezemvelo.
also they should help you and guide you on how to access the report of that committee.
Kodwa ke uzofuna bakulekelele ukuthi ke ungayithola kanjani ke imbiko yalelo komiti.
Then we'll leave it there, how you interact with that committee. But the report of the committees of parliament are all for public consumption. But they will tell you how to access the report, because if it is adopted, it becomes a report of parliament.
Sizobe sesikushiya lapho ke ukuthi ke ukwazi ukuthi uqhubeke uthathe inyathelo odinga ukuthi uyithathe. Kodwa ke yonke imbiko yeParliament iyatholakala emphakathini. Kodwa ke uma ngabe sowuyitholile bese ukwazi ukuthi ke uthathe inyathelo odinga ukuthi uyithathe.
The other issues about the interventions by the municipality, Tegwini municipality or the provincial government, just give us an exemption not to venture there.
Ezinye indaba ke iphathelene nomasipala njalo njalo lezo ke sicela ukuthi usinikeze nje usidedele singaze singene kulezo.
Maybe, as I said, the committee responsible, they will know how they've interacted with the Tegwini municipality and the provincial government.
Ngoba ikomiti elisingethe lolu daba liyazi lona ukuthi lixhumane kanjani nomasipala nabathintekayo kulolu daba lolu.
If it needs be, we will also interact at the level of a sister committee of the National Assembly.
Uma ke kunesidingo sizoxhumana nekomiti ke eloza kwethu lesishamthetho sikazwelonke.
I think that on this matter is what I can say is suffice for the answers for today.
Ngicabanga ukuthi lokho engakusho kulolu daba ngokwanele mhlawumbe ngokuyimpendulo zanamhlanje.
Well, we take note of most of the issues that were raised here.
Noma njengoba sisithatha ke izinto enizibalule namuhla.
Like I said, there were some of the questions, but I think some were quite pointed on what needs to be done.
Noma ke imibuzo ibikhona kodwa ke kukhona nokunye obekade kukhomba impela ukuthi kufuna kwenziweni.
I want now us to, in the absence of any further inputs or contribution,
Uma ngasekho kokunye abantu abafisa ukubeka.
let me thank everyone who came today.
Ngicela ukubonga wonke umuntu kofikile namuhla.
Don't be surprised. I'm not sure whether they got this pamphlet. You might be called again.
Ngicela ningathuki ngoba angazi noma senilitholile ni khona ipheshana ekade likhona kodwa ningazithola nibizwa futhi.
There are two houses that constitute parliament.
Kunezindlu ezimbili ke ezakha iParliament.
Is the National Assembly,
Uba ishamthetho noma iParliament.
it's the NCOP, the National Council of Provinces.
Kube iNCOP lo abathi National Council of Provinces.
The National-
Okuyikomiti lesifunda.
The National Assembly is constituted by 50%, which is 200 members from the national sphere.
Lo abathi ke National Assembly ina 50% noma inamalungu ama percentage amashumi amahlanu abasuke besuka kuzwelonke.
200. I'm so sorry.
200. Sorry, Chair.
Now, iphinde yakhiwe ngamalunga asuka kuyifundazwe awu 200.
And then it's constituted by members from the provinces who are 200,
Lokho ke kusho ukuthi benza 400.
which makes 400.
iNCOP yakhiwa ngamalunga asuka kuyifundazwe kanye namalunga esalga.
NCOP is made up of delegates from the provinces as well as
Salga,
Salga.
the South African Local Government Association. So lezi zindlu zinamandla alinganayo zihlukene.
So these two houses have equal powers, but they are different.
So when we are done as a portfolio committee on mineral resources with the public hearings and have made recommendations, we will take them to the National Assembly.
Uma ngabe sesiqedile ke naloku kuxhumana nemphakathi sasesakha neziphakamiso so bese sikuthatha ke lokhu sikusa lo abathi National Assembly.
As National Assembly, if the National Assembly agrees and accept those recommendations,
Uma ngabe ke National Assembly kwamukela lokhu esiphakamisayo,
into ezokwenzeka, what then will happen, it will be sent to the National Council of Provinces for what is called concurrence.
uzobe ke sekiswa ke kulento abathi NCOP ukuze kwenziwe lo kuthiwa concurrence.
If it goes to the National Council of Provinces, then the National Council of Provinces will refer it to its select committee. Theirs is not a portfolio committee, it's a select committee.
National Council of Provinces yona izobe sikuthumela ke lokho abathi i-select committee bona abanayo ke i-portfolio committee kodwa bane-select committee.
The select committee of the National Council of Provinces may decide what to do with the proposals on the amendments of the bill.
Lelo committee ke lona lizothatha isinqumo ukuthi kwenziweni ke ngaloko kuphakanyisiwe okuyizichibiyelo zomthetho.
It may decide to refer, to do exactly what we say, to refer the bill to the process of public consultation.
Inganquma ke ukuthi ke lo mthetho uphinde nayo iulethe ukuthi ungene ngaphansi kohlelo lokuxhumana nabantu.
That is their prerogative or
Lokhu
their right.
lokhu kuyilungelo labo.
So when they say you are invited, don't say, we saw these people. It's another house. It's not a committee. It's a committee of another house, not a committee of the National Assembly. It will be a committee of the National Council of Provinces. But they may choose not to come to eThekwini, to go somewhere else if they choose KZN. So we wouldn't know how they will structure their public hearings per province that they are visiting.
Ngakho ke ningathuki uma ngabe sekuthiwa niyabizwa futhi nithi hayi labantu sisikhulumile nabo cha kuzobe kungesithina asazi ke ukuthi mhlambe ke uma bekhetha ukuza kuma ezifundazweni bazokhetha ziphi indawo uma ngabe bekhetha la eKZN.
Like Madam had said here, we also have another process of written submissions.
Kanti futhi njengoba beseshile ke umama ngapha ukuthi sinalo lolu uhlelo lokufaka iziphakamiso ngokubhala.
That is also something that the committee will be attending to to allow people to make reference to their to their written submissions.
ukuze abantu bakwazi basebenzise ke lokho abakubhalile bakuletha ekomidini.
On that note, I think let's thank everyone. KZN was our last leg for this year.
Kalama
When the National Assembly goes on recess, we will pick up this process again next year. We're not sure, but it will be the Eastern Cape. That's where we will be.
sengivala ke bengifisa ukuthi ngisho ukuthi iKZN bekuyi isigaba sokugcina sohambo lwethu njengoba nje iParliament lizoya ekhefini sizoqala phansi futhi ke ngonyaka ozayo sihambe lezinye izifundazwe.
Thank you very much. The meeting of today stands adjourned.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu ke umhlangano namhlanje ke usuvaliwe. Ngiyabonga.
1, 2. But I also want to. Is this branding okay? Is it? Crisp. I can see it's crisp. Yeah. It's upside down. Yeah. Zofaki Petra. But you should also record there as well, no?
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. One. So how is it looking, my bro? How is it looking from there? What should we change? All right. Mic height, you.
So we're dealing with it this coming Tuesday. Oh.
Yeah, Akona will do. That's why I want to clarify that question.
You want her to be on the pictures or you want him?
No. We don't want the interview on the picture.
Just him.
Yeah, that's him. We don't want him.
So if it's like that, then if like we editing, you don't have to show her or like hear her. So you have to interpret what she's saying. When she's asking a question, okay, you repeat the question and you carry on.
Okay, I think I'll try.
Yeah. So what she's asking, if I'm saying, my brother, how come you got so much good cards in your hair? And then you're gonna say, I got a good card in my hair. Yeah.
This thing is not like live, this one.
Yeah.
We edit it. So
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm talking on that behalf. So
Now I think I know that part.
yeah. So you repeat.
You follow the question.
You repeat
the answer.
You repeat it first.
Yeah.
Because on the edit, she's not going to be there. So we must know what is being asked. Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Okay. My name is Sahlulele Luzipo, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. Obviously, the purpose of being here is to ensure that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me get more details. Oh, you use yours.
No, it's fine. The audio is fine. It will be fine because it's coming from its mic.
Oh,
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, speed.
Yeah, my name is Sahlulele Luzipo, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. The purpose of being here today is to ensure that from a committee point of view, before we engage on the deliberations, we do proper consultations with our communities so that they can help and assist to inform our thinking as a committee.
You are here in KZN today, and previously you have been in other provinces. What has been the input of people or the general appreciation of people into the
Look, we have been in many provinces. For an example, we have been to Mpumalanga. In Mpumalanga, we're in Mbombela and Witbank, which is Emalahleni. And we have been in Gauteng, in Tshwane, and in Ekurhuleni. And in KZN, we have been in Mhlathuze, in Gwelezane, and now today we are here. Obviously, there have been different responses that we received, but we think they've, to some degree, empowered the committee, made us to have a better knowledge. And I think at this stage, as I've said, the main focus of our visit was to make sure that our own people, they make contribution on the proposed amendments on the gas of the gas amendment, which we call the gas amendment bill, which is on the Gas Act of 2001, and we think those contributions that members of the public have made will assist to shape the thinking of the committee. Amongst other issues, for an example, is to look at mechanism that can address the issue of new entries, is to look at the penalties. What are the implications? You take, for an example, initially we may not have understood the question of the penalties with regards to a failure to comply, i.e. the 2 million rands as a minimum per day, the issue of the renewal of the license, the issue of the period of lease agreements, the issue that relates to the penalty, the expropriation by the regulator on behalf of the licensees. So these are some of the issues that have come out very sharply. How to manage the issue and strengthen the law with regards to issues of health and safety for workers, the protection of communities and the environment. So I would say the inputs that we've received, they were quite very assisting. Also, even opening our eyes. One thing that today here came up brilliantly outstanding from a young man who says, fine, we understand, but can you explain this? You just gave us a number of gases, but you have not defined to us what are these gases and how do they operate? How do they, in practical terms, how do they translate into an operation? So that also became an issue for me, that we said, yes, we must pick that up, and I think we must factor it in as we go to other provinces so that we can give that explanation of the, not just identify, but we think it's going to be key on the recommendations that we will make with regards to the bill. But at this stage, obviously, as I've said, we have not done anything as a committee with regards to recommendations.
In the process of legislation making, what is the importance of public participation? Why is it important that public should participate?
Look, you cannot I always say this, you can't have an activist parliament that is standing aloof. We cannot allow social distancing as far as the collection of information is concerned. And information in most cases rests with our communities. And that's precisely the reason we see them as a base of consultation for knowledge development, but also it makes us wiser than we would have been before. Like I'm saying now, there are many things that we would not have understood if we had decided to just deal with the bill at the level of the portfolio committee. And therefore, to us, anything that you have to do successfully that will impact on the lives of our people, we have to make those consultations with them. So that is the main issue that we think it was critical and we had to undertake.
The country is undergoing power shortages. What impact or what suggestions have you received from that could offset the power shortages in the national grid?
Look, I initially I had been responding to this question, but I think to some degree, generally there is a commitment, and we think that the gas industry is one that is a new game, is in the new game that we are having. But because we still have to have deliberations, I don't want to sound insensitive. That there are views that says gas is not an alternative. It is as risk and to the environment, and it will be with fossil fuel. So, but we know for a fact that gas is one of the alternative sources of energy. Most people are utilizing it, whether you talk about your gas stoves, whether you talk about your gas heaters and so forth. So we think that there is a role. The big question would be, what type of gas are you talking about? And to what extent it will be a factor in as far as addressing the issue of emissions. So we think that as long as we deal, even in that context, cleaner forms of gas emissions, then I don't think it can be a bigger problem. But let's allow the divergence of views. Let's allow the polarization of knowledge. And on the basis of that, I think we are much more better now to even look at that and say, if we look at it as a true future source of energy, how do you address some of these issues that are being raised now? And I think that's what the bill, by the way, says. And it talks about attending to the new technologies that are developing. And the argument could be, yes, there are those challenges, but there is this thing. It talks about stiff fines, which seeks to address this issue of non-compliance, including pollution itself when it talks about the protection of the environment. What I think we should move away is an approach that says, do nothing except this one. At times you get the sense that our choices are on the basis of where we stand. And I don't think we should celebrate one source of energy at the expense of the other. Let's look at the mix of the energy mix, and in my view, gas is also one of those.
The committee at least states this week that the committee will be holding a session. We will be discussing aspects of the public hearings and information sessions.
No. You will recall the public consultation takes two forms. One is when you receive written submissions. It's when you go to people, like in venues like we did now. Now we need then to also attend to those people who have made written submissions. And that's what now we'll be saying. Now talk to what you have written to the committee. We give you some space. And we want to appeal to our people. They must utilize that opportunity to the maximum benefit. There is nothing that I always say that you disadvantage yourself by not addressing the real issue, and you deal with other peripheral. No one is perfect, and I will always say this thing, no one is perfect. When there are technical challenges, work with the person so that that person can correct some of those issues. At times I get this thing that we formulate positions, and instead of addressing what we want to do, we address now what is our attitude towards what is happening. And I think that